Yes, absolutely. We wrote to both sides, to the Prime Minister in the UK and to Donald Tusk and Jean-Claude Juncker, as you mentioned, in the EU. Really what our members want to see, and that's 30,000 business leaders in the UK, we want to see progress. Yeah, the clock really is ticking down, and it's getting a bit alarming now that we are only 9 months until Brexit Day, and we still, from the UK side, we still don't know some fairly basic details in terms of what the government wants from a future customs relationship, what will happen to freedom of movement, what kind of regulatory cooperation they're envisaging. And from the EU side, there has been a bit too much intransigence when it's come to the Northern Ireland border, for example. We just really want both sides to actually get together, prioritise moving on, because the fear from the business side is if you don't know what's going to happen, it makes it very hard to plan, and then you might have to take the most bold, drastic planning, which I think we all want to avoid.
I mean, I think the government kind of knows what it wants, but Europe's just not willing to cede ground on that. So what we're going to end up with is a bloody-minded exit, by the looks of things.
I'm not sure the government does know what it wants. I mean, they're meeting this week, next week, to talk about the contents of the white paper. And from everything that we can see, they haven't actually made up their minds finally yet on you know, is it some form of customs union? Is it this so-called max FAC option? You know, what is it? And those details are the kind of things that really matter to our members, 62% of whom export. It's what happens when your goods get to the border, either exports, imports. Are there going to be delays? Is that going to mess up your supply chains? All that kind of stuff. So there are some basic details we need to get first. But yeah, I agree. I think actually from the EU side as well, there has been an unwillingness to prioritise moving on. Clearly they've got their own issues. It's all been about migration in this council. But we were told to expect that we would hear something on the Northern Ireland backstop from the Student Council, and it doesn't look like we're going to get it. And that just unsettles business, makes them worried we're not moving anywhere, basically.
What contingency plans are your members then making to work with a hard Brexit? I mean, how are businesses looking at shifting resources or adding costs into the production process to address whatever the additional frictional costs may be?
So, I mean, it varies massively by company size, by sector. About 70% of our members are SMEs, so actually a lot of them really haven't done very much so far because they feel that they have no idea what the future relationship is going to look like, so they find it very hard to plan. I mean, at the one extreme, you have some people either divesting, selling some assets on the continent or moving some staff. That's actually quite low level at the moment. Most of it is sort of looking at shadow supply chains, how would they get certain components in the event of a hard Brexit, that kind of thing. But really, I think actually it's just very hard to plan because you really don't know at the moment. And so if it's really, really critical, then you're going to have to take more drastic steps. For most businesses, it's confusion at the moment.
Edwin, I think the Europeans summed it up quite well in some of the comments yesterday, and you cite the lack of progress. There's two big issues where there's been a lack of progress. The UK is still thinking it's an equal partner in these negotiations, and that was a comment from Ireland. Leo Varadkar was talking about the fact that there are 500 million people in Europe. In the UK there are 60 million, so you're not an equal partner in negotiations. The other point was around the communication, the ability of Theresa May to satisfy the Remainers or those who still think that there might be a deal or some exit strategy eventually down the track, have been disappointed probably this week, and of course the Brexiteers. So the issues have not moved from communication from government to the UK's negotiating stance.
I agree. I think that's what's so frustrating after 2 years, that we are still playing out almost some of the same arguments that were in the referendum campaign. And rather than the government coming together, yes, look, people have pretty different ideologies within the cabinet. We know that. It's all playing out in public. It's been a bit ugly, it's been a bit messy. Rather than agreeing in private, making whatever kind of compromises they have to make, and then presenting that united front and going to Europe with that, saying this is what we want. Because if the Europeans have a point in that, if they're not being presented with one package of asks from the UK side, it does make it slightly more difficult for them to negotiate.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.